Alright, so today I'm going to be reviewing Rocky. So today I'm going to be reviewing Rocky. Trace, really? You Spanish now, motherfucker? Today I'm going to be reviewing Rocky 3, my favorite movie ever. And damn, Rashad, come on! What's the matter with you? Tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. This is too dope of a movie to review by myself. And I'm talking about my all-time favorite movie, not just in the Rocky universe, but favorite movie ever, Rocky 3. I'm being joined by my man Anthony A. Perez, the Z Review. I'm going to get to their thoughts in a second. But I had to share this movie with my other YouTube brothers because this is such a special film to me. It's my favorite, y'all. And so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time because they're going to put their 2 cents on there, and I really want to hear what they have to say about this. But you're asking, Rashad, Rocky 3? Why is Rocky 3 your favorite movie? And I'm going to tell you. All right, if you listen, I'm going to tell you. Rocky 3 is just one of those stories that really motivates you, inspires you. It's about redemption. It's about falling and taking a loss and bouncing back from that loss and coming back better than ever, reinventing yourself, changing the game, flipping the script, and coming out victorious. Written and directed once again by Sly Stallone at the time. This was, I think, one of the highest grossing movies in 1982. Siskel and Ebert didn't show much love. They liked the second one better. And Z Review kind of has those same sentiments. I think Perez also. And Perez also touches on the theme of redemption for this movie. Sylvester Stallone knocked it out the park. Great performance. Matter of fact, he almost killed himself making this movie. He dropped down to like 2% body fat. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was just skin and muscle, put himself in the hospital. Sly is fucking crazy, but the film is immortal. You know what I mean? So to write and direct this shit and to star in it and to get yourself in top shape, surviving off of a can of tuna and an egg every day, you know what I'm saying? That's dedication. Everybody in this movie shine. Talia Shire, Burgess Meredith, Burt Young, Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed this time, playing the friend, the buddy, the ally who's going to help Sly overcome this fucking monstrosity that is one of the best villains in cinema history, Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, who is no thespian, but just his personality, his menace, his fucking presence. Mr. T is the best Rocky villain. I know a lot of argue with me and say, no, that's Dolph Lundgren, Ivan Drago. Now, don't get me wrong. Dolph Lundgren was a scary motherfucker as Drago, but he was Frankenstein's monster. He had a presence about him, but he wasn't Mr. T. Mr. T, not only was he brutal and menacing, but he talked his shit. He got in Rocky's head. He fucked with them, and you couldn't wait to see Rocky beat his ass. And also a cameo by a young, pre-balding Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips. You know what I mean? This was the movie that catapulted the WWE into the fucking stratosphere because of Hulk Hogan. It started rocking wrestling, and I think Sly Mr. T got into the WWE Hall of Fame because if not for this movie, we wouldn't have the WWF that we have today. Electrifying performances overall. This movie is just electrifying. If I could find a word to describe this movie other than the story of redemption, it is electrifying. This is the most electrifying movie in the franchise. Many will argue and say, yeah, 4 is the most, exciting movie. And, 1 and 2 are the better movies, technically speaking. But to me, 3 is just the most electrifying. It just had that personality, it just had that it factor that separated it from the pack. You know what I'm saying? It's an underdog story like the other ones, but almost in reverse because Rocky starts out as the favorite, as the guy on top, as the guy that has everything. And then he loses it and has to get it back. No other Rocky movie has done that, y'all. So without further ado, let me see, who am I gonna do first? Let me flip a coin over that motherfucker.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Z Review. I'm Mike, and once again, thanks very much to Rashad G for having me on this channel to talk about the third installment into the Rocky franchise, Rocky 3. So with Rocky 3, it stars Mr. T as Clubber Lang, who is now the enemy in terms of the main fight that Rocky has in this film. We also get a cameo appearance from Hulk Hogan as Thunderlips, which we're going to get into very shortly. But we've got the same cast back again for another outing: Talia Shire, Burt Young, Burgess Meredith, and many more. So what was my thoughts on Rocky 3? Well, man, I enjoyed this movie. I thought this was awesome. It was a good time. It was an easy watch. But essentially the plot of this movie is Rocky is coming off his world champion win against Apollo Creed, and we see him taking on opponents who is challenging for the titles. He beats them, but then comes along Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, who has kind of got a chip on his shoulder. He's thinking, right, well, I can beat Rocky. He's knocking out all these opponents on his way to trying to become the number one contender for the championship, which is done very well, may I add. He challenges Rocky to a fight, which Rocky accepts, but Rocky actually loses. Rocky is knocked out in 2 rounds. Clubber Lang becomes the world champion, and it's about Sylvester Stallone character Rocky Balboa trying to make a recovery to then fight Clubber Lang once again, and can he regain that championship? Well, this is how the film plays out. Firstly, I thought that it was an awesome movie. The performances in this were great. I loved Mr. T's version of Clubber Lang in this movie. I felt like it was executed really good. I felt like he came across as a really menacing villain as such, or a menacing opponent, where he was just knocking out people, and it clearly went to show that he was serious in gaining this title, serious about his point of showing that Rocky is just a chump, he's no match for him. And when we get that first fight between the two, I was blown away. I loved it. I loved the fact that Rocky got knocked out. He kind of took for granted, a bit like Apollo Creed did in his first fight with Rocky. And he only beat Rocky by a decision-based win, not an actual knockout. And that kind of transpired in this third film, where Rocky took Mr. T's character for granted, and it cost him massively. I also love the fact that Hulk Hogan was in this movie. I didn't even know that, because I don't really like checking out a trailer or knowing like the cast of these movies as I'm going into them, as they're a first time watch. So I kind of want to be surprised. So when I saw that was the case, and he was known as Thunderlips, an interesting fact is Vince McMahon Sr. fired Hulk Hogan from the WWE at the time, but Vince McMahon that we know today, he rehired him due to the popularity, which is absolutely nuts. And another fun fact is when Mr. T's character is speaking a bit profanely to Talia Shire's character Adrian in the movie, when he actually saw the premiere of this with his mum, once she heard the line where he was talking to Adrian's character, she stormed out the theatre, which I just think is awesome. It's such a cool story and just such cool trivia that you can read up about these films, and I like doing that after I watch any kind of film, but especially the Rocky movies, as this is set in 1982, I believe, or came out at least then. But yeah, overall, love this movie. I would say, being honest, if we were to take the first 3 Rocky movies, this was probably the darkest entry into them, especially with Rocky's kind of recovery and kind of self-doubts that he has when he gets beaten up by Clubber Lang, and his kind of recovery to find himself once again and find that kind of like eye of the tiger, as cliche as that is, to then take into that final fight. I felt like that was kind of the darkest of the series, and I loved how Sylvester Stallone portrayed that part of Rocky Balboa's character with that recovery. It was really believable. I kind of felt for him, the flashbacks he was having, and I felt, wow, this guy probably doesn't have a chance to beat him, especially if he keeps on that kind of self-thinking path that he was going through at the time. But the fact that he has Apollo Creed helping him and training him, taking him back to basics, with some extra training in there, for example, like the swimming lessons, I felt that was great. It added a bit more depth to the Rocky character, but we also got a bit of characterization between Rocky and Apollo Creed, where their friendship developed massively. And that was definitely one of the highlights of this film. I love that those two actually came together, kind of found a common mutual bond between them. And the fact that it took Apollo Creed, the former world champion, to train the current, as such, world champion to get back into the fight and to beat Clubber Lang. So overall, they're my positives for this movie. I do have a couple of gripes with this. Firstly, I don't think it's as good as Rocky 1 or 2. It kind of, on par in terms of number 2 for the entertainment, because I love the fights in this movie. I thought they were really well executed and done. The only thing is, I guess the pacing sometimes suffers a little bit in this movie, and the plot isn't as Rocky 1 or 2, because them two films I felt like had a lot more depth to them. They've obviously used those two films as a platform to build up the character Rocky, which is understandable, but I just felt like the plot suffered a little bit in this, and it had less of a runtime than the first two. And even Sylvester Stallone kind of admitted this was going to be the last outing into the Rocky franchise. Obviously, we find out that's going to keep going. But I just felt like there was a couple of plot pacing issues in this movie, and the plot wasn't as strong in this. And I was really gutted when Burgess Meredith's character, Mickey, died in this movie. That really got me in the feels right here. And I was good for the rest of the movie. I was just thinking, oh man, Rocky's awesome trainer died. It was kind of didn't help by Mr. T's character, Clubber Lang. But I was just good with the decision that they made. I kind of get why they did it. And I like that Apollo Creed was one who actually came out to offer Rocky that training. I was just a bit gutted that they actually wrote this character off, because I could have just watched a full movie with Burgess Meredith training Rocky, you know? But yeah, overall, really love this film, Rashad. I'm honestly so happy that I'm checking out this series for the first ever time, and that you've kind of put me onto the series. I love this entry. I think it was still a great entry into the Rocky franchise. The soundtrack was awesome in this, especially Eye of the Tiger. Obviously, that is the main song. But I just felt like overall the soundtrack in this was really good. It was kind of really motivating as well, for if someone kind of, after watching this movie, kind of like Rocky 2, you feel pumped, you want to get out there, you want to go maybe do something or crack on with the rest of your day, whatever. I felt like the soundtrack in this was probably the best so far out of the 3 movies. But guys, if you haven't already, please feel free to come over to my channel, subscribe to the channel, as I've got a lot more content coming out. I do a lot of movies, Back to the Future talk, and other stuff as well. Please press subscribe on Rashad's channel, as he is an awesome guy. He's making these collabs happen. He's had me on the channel for the first time, well, 3 times now technically, but yeah, he's such an awesome dude. Give him some love, tell him that you love these reviews with the Z review, that we really appreciate it. But Rashad, back to you, my man, and your thoughts on Rocky 3.
My man, that's what's up. Listen, I can hear the excitement in your voice. You really love this movie. I love this movie, and I'm more than happy to share it with you. And by the way, I have a bad habit of this. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Z Review. The link is in the description. Also, subscribe to Anthony A. Perez. They both review movies like myself. Very enthusiastic brothers, man. They love films. I love talking films with them. Show some love and subscribe to their channel. So, Z Review, you said that the movie had some pacing issues, and you know what, yeah, there does come a time where it does slow down a little bit after Mickey dies, which is like the saddest shit ever. And like I told you, in every Rocky movie, there's always some sad shit that happens that gets you in your feelings, and the Bill Conti music kicks in and you almost want to cry. And yes, I cry when Mickey dies. No matter how many times I watch this movie, when Mickey dies, I cry like a bitch. I don't give a damn. It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, after Mickey dies, there is a stretch where Rocky has to mourn. It is necessary for the film, you know what I'm saying? Because prior to that, this movie does move at a breakneck speed. You know what I'm saying? It moves very fast. So when Mickey dies, it slows down. Rocky is mourning. He doesn't know what to do. He's discombobulated. Where do I go from here? And then Apollo Creed enters, and then the movie picks back up again. But I understand what you're saying. You know, a movie this old, you know, old movies, sometimes the pacing is a little dragged out, so I get it. But I'm just explaining to you why Sly did what he did. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, bro. I'm glad you enjoyed all the performances in the fight. I told you, bro, with each fight, the hits get more exaggerated and more louder, and it just gets worse as 4 comes along. Now we're going to go to Anthony A. Perez, who has seen this movie before. See, Z Review hasn't seen any of these movies, so I love watching his reaction because he hasn't seen any of these yet. So Perez has seen these movies, but he's seen them long time ago. He said his father was a big fan of the franchise, and he was excited to go back and watch it. So Perez, after all of these years, what do you think about Rocky 3, man? Does it hold up? Does it stand the test of time, man? Go ahead.
What's going on, Rashad and all his viewers. Thank you so much, my friend, again for having me here in another video. And this time I'm joining you and Mike from the Z Review for his first time watching the Rocky franchise. And this time we're talking about Rocky 3. And yeah, I was talking to Rashad before I sent him this about the fact that this is the first time in a long time that I've jumped like straight into like the middle of a franchise without starting from the beginning, because usually when I'm reviewing franchises, I start from the beginning. And it's been a minute since I've seen the Rocky movies, but it's a movie and a franchise in general that I have a deep connection to. Not only do I really enjoy the film like most film fans, it also is something that's kind of resonant in my earlier days of, you know, falling in love with film. Some of my earlier days of starting to develop my love for film was just kind of sitting around with my dad and my uncle, talking about movies, what worked, what didn't work, what were better movies than others, and kind of just being able to talk crap with each other about these movies. And so one of the biggest conversation pieces, or one of the biggest topics that would tend to come up from my dad and my uncle's childhood, was the Rocky franchise, Sylvester Stallone, First Blood, and the Rambo franchise, and many others, you know. But Stallone has always been a huge part of those conversations with my dad and my uncle, and my dad's always been a huge Rocky fan. You know, I get him t-shirts from time to time that are based on Rocky and the Flash and different things that he's into. And so Rocky's just always kind of been important to me, and it's just always been something, again, that I kind of am able to tie back to my earlier days of falling in love with film discussion. And yeah, overall, going back and revisiting this third film, it's a lot of fun, right? There's some great cheesy moments and some things that maybe don't work 100%. Some slow moments that are a little bit dated by today's standards, but overall, a really well-acted film with some really, really great moments. Sylvester Stallone is just shredded in this movie, looks great, and what I really enjoy about this film is the idea of kind of reaching this place in your life, or this internal mental pinnacle, you know, where you kind of feel like you've hit like your peak. You feel like you've hit this really great comfortable spot, and then you kind of come to realize that you're kind of just coasting, and when something comes and kind of messes things up for you, you start to realize, man, I'm not on top of my game. And you know, there's other things that happen in this movie. There's the death of Mickey that's just emotional, especially if you've watched the two films prior. And yeah, without a doubt, what I really enjoy about this film is the idea of redemption, you know, realizing again that you kind of mentally reached this pinnacle, and you kind of just been coasting, and you haven't been your best self. You haven't been bettering yourself. At the core of the story, beyond it being a boxing story that has all this other stuff going on with characters, at its core, it's really about, you know, the idea of, you know, kind of having to continue to push to be your better self, and how sometimes when we just kind of become complacent, you know, that's when things start to become a little bit harder, or you don't find yourself being super happy. You can't find yourself really feeling satisfied when you kind of just stop in your growth, you know, and I really enjoy that message in the middle of the movie. But beyond that, it's just a fun and entertaining movie with some cheesy performances like Hulk Hogan in there, but everybody else is great, and really love Mr. T as a villain. He's just full-blown, you know, he's definitely doing the Mr. T thing, but he's definitely a great part of the movie, and the back and forth between him and Rocky is so great. Sly is so great in this movie as an actor. Just really, really thoroughly enjoy him. Overall, really just sells the character of Rocky. There's so many little great moments in here. The final fight is great, and I love, again, that we right at the beginning get to see our character lose, you know, and that's been a big theme in this franchise, is failure, the losses, and I've always really enjoyed that about the Rocky franchise, more so now than when I was younger, right? Because it's been a minute since I've watched this franchise in its entirety. I've seen a couple here and there, maybe some I would catch on TV, but nowadays, in the age of streaming and just kind of being caught up in work and making videos and playing video games and kind of doing time management when it comes to my entertainment kind of consumption, I don't really sit in front of the TV. I don't even have TV like regular cable here, so it's not very often that I just kind of see something on TV anymore. I usually am purposely seeking it out. So yeah, this made me want to revisit the entire Rocky franchise and start from the beginning. Overall, had a really great time revisiting it. Thank you, Rashad, for having me here in this video. I definitely look forward to hearing what you and the Z Review have to say about this. Overall, really enjoy the central theme about failure and redemption, and not only just failure and redemption, but the idea of, again, just kind of stopping your growth, you know what I mean? Kind of finding complacency and then starting to find yourself be unsatisfied with where you're going, or being beaten down by things that you haven't really allowed yourself to be prepared for in life. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of take from as far as the things that go on with Rocky in this movie and various other characters. And beyond that, it's just a great installment in the franchise. So yeah, Mr. T, Sylvester Stallone, you got Apollo Creed in there, Carl Weathers, just so many great actors, so many great moments. Love seeing Rocky and Apollo work together in this movie, and overall just a great fun Rocky film. So I'm not going to take up any more time. Thank you so much to Rashad and the Z Review for having me here in this video, and I look forward to hearing what you guys have to say. If anybody's curious, my name is Anthony A. Perez. I have a channel where I talk about movies and all kinds of other random crap, so if you guys are interested in that, you can find the link to my channel, I'm assuming, down below in the description box, and I'm going to pass it back to Rashad now. Thank you guys so much for having me.
What you mean you assume? Brother, listen in. We just got through watching Rocky now. Don't make me have to put some of these haymakers on you, okay? I got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you. Right here. Of course, I'm going to put it in the description. Quit tripping. So, yeah, you had the same problem that Z Review had, that the pacing was a little slow at times. And I get that, like I said, it's because Rocky had to mourn. He had to figure out what the fuck he was going to do. But then once Apollo Creed comes and they go to L.A. where Apollo started at, and they had to break Rocky down and build him up all over again. Because Rocky was a brawler. He just came out and just swung for the fences and took punishment. And that's how he won his fights. That's how he beat Apollo. He was able to take Apollo's best punches and endure and then brawl with him. But see, Mr. T is a brawler. Clubber Lang is a brawler. So you can't win fighting him with that style. So Rocky had to switch it up and fight like Apollo, or as Paulie would say, like a colored fighter. When he said, you can't treat him like a colored fighter. He ain't got no rhythm, you know. So Rocky had to learn how to jab, how to move, how to do the footwork and shit. He boxed just like Apollo did and came out victorious. And also, I have to give a shout out to Adrian, Talia Shire, as that woman that you need in your corner, man. This is, you know what, we have a choice of the women that we choose to have in our lives, man, you know. And right now I'm single, but goddamn it, when I do find somebody, I want somebody like Adrian that has my back and give it to me blood raw. Adrian, who was timid and shy in the first two movies, came in this one and said, listen, get it together, brother. What's your problem? And I love that scene where she was like, you know, Rocky was like, yeah, you know, I don't want to lose you, the kid. I don't want to lose what I got. Well, why do we have that can't be replaced? What? A house, we got cars, we got money. We got everything but the truth. What's the truth, damn it? I'm afraid. All right? You want to hear me say it? Brought it out of him. Love Adrian in these movies. And, yeah, everybody just shine. What more can I say, y'all? So, not to ramble on about this, I don't want to lose nobody. I'm sure this video is going to be long as shit. But Rocky 3, my all-time favorite movie, gets an A fucking plus. And because I love this movie so much, I might have to revisit it and review it again for you all. But for this review, I had to bring my YouTube brothers in and give their thoughts about it. And I'm glad everybody loved it. I know y'all don't love it as much as me, but I love it. It's my favorite in the franchise. So y'all, that's all I got, y'all. Rocky 3 A+. What did you guys think of the movie? What's your favorite in the Rocky series? Comment freely below. Thank you all for watching. And if you like and did this content, hit that like and subscribe notification bell in the corner. And don't forget to subscribe to Anthony A. Perez, The Z Review. Links are in the description. And that's all I got, kid. He'll kill you to death inside of 3 rounds. You're crazy. What else is new? He'll knock you to tomorrow, Rock. I'll see y'all in the next video, man. I'm such a fucking dork.